Hello, welcome to another edition of Bars to Bricks Ministries, Jailhouse Lawyer Edition. We're going on the legal series, on the legal hunt for the innocent and incarcerated. We're going on the hunt for cases to help people. We are going to help educate you guys about the law at the same time. Now, before we go any further, please like, share, subscribe, comment. Comment. I want to hear from you. What do you want to know about? I'm getting ready to start a new series, Ask the Jailhouse Lawyer. If you have questions for me about the law, please feel free to post them down below, and we will answer them in a video, I promise you. And if you, I make sure that we will get the thorough answer and the correct answer as well. If I don't know the subject for sure, I will research. Let me talk to you today about what is a jailhouse lawyer and why is it so important to find the right one. What are the pros? What are the cons? And why trust a jailhouse lawyer at all? Someone that don't have a legal degree. True, I don't have a law degree. I've studied the law for about 20 years. About 18 years actually, to be exact. I am a member of the American Bar Association. I've taken the paralegal courses and stuff like that, although when I was taking them in prison, I did not have the money to get the diplomas and stuff like that and take it officially. Buddy was taking the class. I took it along with him. When his papers got graded, we compared them to make sure mine was correct or incorrect, and went from there. Jailhouse lawyers, many times, if they're good and they have the right passion and desire, they can help a lot of people. Because it's like for myself, how I started learning the law was from my own case. I had someone, a jailhouse lawyer, doing some work on my case, and another gentleman came up and said, "Hey, you might be careful. That dude don't halfway know what he's doing. He knows enough to be dangerous and to cause you problems. You got one chance. If you argue something, you argue it wrong, or the wrong, it's not presented in the correct manner, you lose it forever." And so it caused me to go in and start learning the law. And I was blessed at the time. I worked in the library, and so I had access to the law library all the time. And the law librarian was a good friend of mine, and he was very knowledgeable and good with the law and research. And he sat down and taught me, as well as a bunch of old school guys that really know the law. And that's what I started surrounding myself with when I started doing work for other people too, is other inmates, convicts that were doing the same thing and were good at it, knew what they were doing. The guy that says every single person has a case, this and that, and gets you back in court, that's a lie. Post conviction is the hardest to get back into court anyway. To get them overturned, it's even harder. Before we just get too much into that, let me talk about a jailhouse lawyer. A jailhouse lawyer is an incarcerated individual who studies the law and provides legal advice to other inmates. These lawyers often represent themselves or other inmates in prisoner grievance and civil matters, disciplinary reports, such like that. Jailhouse lawyers are self-taught and often have no legal experience or education. Sometimes that's true. They're just taught, and they don't take the extra steps for the extra education. I've studied a lot of law stuff too, on top, and especially since my release, I've been doing some studies with Harvard Law School and all that. This report will discuss the life of a jailhouse lawyer, exploring the various challenges they face and the strategies they use to be successful. The life of a jailhouse lawyer. If you know how to do the law, you can help a lot of people. But it can be a challenging and difficult existence sometimes, because you have people that they want you to work on their case, and either they won't leave you alone, they just bug you so much about it. It gets irritating every time you run into them. And I understand at the same time being on that side of the getting legal work stuff done, but I also believe in letting someone do their work. If you're not good at it, you mess somebody's case up, the repercussions could be deadly depending on whose case and who they are or what they did or their mentality. May even be that person you least expect. It just seemed as soft as a little kid, baby kitten, but when he has to do that prison sentence now, and especially had a legit issue, and you messed it up, that little kitten might turn into a full-grown lion, and it may be bad. A lot of times, guys are working on their own case. They help work on other cases. A lot of them, max security is a good place to start learning the law because you have more time on your hands, and that's exactly what I did with my time in max. Behind the walls and hutch is I started learning the law, and on top of my other programs and stuff, I tried to do stuff that was positive. And you're working on people's stuff that are convicted of a multitude of crimes. Now, some people won't work on certain cases. I worked on everybody's case, especially if there was a wrong. I don't. Now there was a few that I got deep into their case, and I ended up handing stuff back to them. They may have had an issue, but I wasn't going to file it because I didn't want them on the streets with my kids and family. It just their personality, whether there was a loophole or not, I didn't want to be the one to get them out and have them cause more harm to somebody else, hurt another kid or hurt somebody else. It's oftentimes a struggle depending on where you're at to obtain legal materials and such. The county jails, Sedgwick County, Wichita, Kansas, where I'm from, they have a limited law library on the computers in the door or in the pods. You can sign up for access to the law library if you can ever get there. It's very limited. You can't print. You can't do this. You can't do that. If you do, I imagine you print. I mean, it's like 50 cents a page. So, I mean, you really got to want it. And it can be very expensive and hard to represent yourself and other clients. County jails, though, are one of the best places, if you know the law, to help people, because that is in their beginning stages. Because, like I said before, post-conviction is hard. It's very, very hard after someone's convicted to get back into court, whether they're innocent or guilty, no matter what the evidence. It is far, far, far from a fair and constitutional system. So, if they can nip it in the backside early on and catch them errors, then that helps. Now, some states like Kansas, they pass laws that actually you making it hard to go around your appointed attorneys and stuff in these cases, because guys are doing more than these attorneys. Guys are getting these big cases overturned, and the state don't like it. And sometimes it's because the people are innocent, but the state still don't like it. Like said in prior videos, Mark Bennett, the prosecutor in Sedgwick County, is not constitutional. Probably don't even know how to spell Constitution. It's a personal issue for him. It's not about innocent or guilty. It's about his win ratio. How many people, once you're on his desk, you're guilty, by God. Somebody said you did it, so you probably did. And he's going to nail you for it because he don't want a loss on his record. And it's just insane. Jailhouse lawyers, they're like I said, they're self-taught many times. They rely on their own knowledge and skills to represent themselves and other inmates. It can be difficult, as they must rely on their own understanding of law. Now, if you don't have someone that has a good idea of the law, they can do more harm than good. Not everybody has a post-conviction claim. Even sad to say, if they're innocent, you have to be able to prove that you're innocent. And so it's a hard road, especially if you're less than financially blessed. The system is set up for the rich. If you want to win in the system, you get some money. I've seen some people with money go away for crimes for a couple years that someone without money would go away for multiple life sentences. Literally. Child molester type stuff. It's money. It's sad. The justice system is not about justice. It's about cash. Who can fatten that account? It just and incarceration is big business. So, it's job security for each one they put in. But despite the challenges, and despite the lack of a formal law school education, most jailhouse lawyers can be successful in helping clients. Myself, I have been to the Kansas Supreme Court 3 times. I have won in the Kansas Supreme Court 3 times. I have gone up against Mark Bennett, Sedgwick County prosecutor, 3 times. I beat him 3 times. The other 3 times were one other was from him to the Kansas Supreme Court on me, and I beat him in the Supreme Court. And so they don't like that. They do not like that, especially when the judge calls attention to it in the hearing. My judge, when I gave back all that time, flat told the prosecutor, our head prosecutor in Wichita, 500,000 plus people, that you lost today. Just because this inmate had better legal arguments and filings than you did, don't be butthurt. You lost. He beat you. Give it up. I tell you what, he was very heated after that. But a jailhouse lawyer, who has more desire to help usually than someone that's in that same situation? Who has a desire to learn the law and stuff than someone that's in that same situation? And when you're become a part of a jail or a prison or something, you are a part of a community and you get to know some of these guys. You hear about their cases, and if you have that legal knowledge and that ability to do so, a lot of times we want to help. Now, granted, you're not supposed to be paid for legal work as an inmate in prison. At least in Kansas, it's completely against the rules. You can help an inmate with their legal work all day long, but you're not supposed to collect any payment. If they see you giving somebody a shot of coffee while they're doing your legal work, they can write you up. But it can be profitable because a lot of guys do. Even if you don't charge a lot or if you don't charge anything to people, people are grateful, and especially if they get out. Then you got the times. I had a guy in Hutch, the first case I won. I filed a 60-1507 habeas corpus for this guy. He was on a second-degree murder case. Had a 12.5-year sentence. I got his case completely thrown out. He was released. I'll write you. I'll call, this and that. I won't forget. I have not heard from that man since, and that was 2006. So I don't think my phone's going to be ringing anytime soon either. But, needless to say, it don't matter because I helped that man get out. I got him out of prison, reunited with his family, so he could be the father and the husband that he wanted to be, and be there for his family properly. As far as I know, I don't think he's ever came back into the system. I mean, that's a good thing too. It's, Kansas is about 10,000 in the Kansas system, but still not so big that you don't run into people a lot of times. Jailhouse lawyers get a lot of flack from administration. I've been threatened. In multiple facilities, they do not like it when you can file grievances. They do not like it when you can combat their disciplinary reports. They do not like it when they lose. Especially disciplinary reports are not the same level of evidence as your courts. Disciplinary reports are called what they call preponderance of evidence, which means you're more likely guilty than not. I mean, and in a lot of cases, sad to say, if an officer says you did it, you're guilty, because a lot of these D officers will flat tell you, my officers don't lie, which I flat told them that's a lie. But um, so if you do the jailhouse lawyer, then you got to be thick-skinned. You got to be able to stand up. You got to be able to, because I was in a minimum facility in Kansas, and I kept beating all these little petty DRs that they were writing these guys for nothing. I actually got called into the unit team managers with several of the unit teams and stuff, and told if I continue, I will face problems. And I kept on, and they were never really messed with me, but still, I wasn't going to stop helping people just because they didn't like it, because they couldn't wrong these people anymore. And jailhouse lawyers got to be willing to take some risks. They must be willing to challenge existing laws and policies in order to seek justice for their clients. This requires them to be creative in their legal arguments and to think outside the box. Like I said, law and winning a case is a lot about argument and how you present that argument. If you can argue, if you can debate, if you can, man, that is what a lot of it is about. And it's just having that and being quick on your feet, knowing your case. If you're in court, knowing what you're battling and stuff, or in the middle of motion, knowing how to combat right away, come back with the counter, and and come back with law and facts and constitution and civil rights and all the stuff that matters in the court of law, and evidence, of course. But it's, you got to be willing to collaborate with other inmates sometimes, because you're never going to be an expert in everything. And now I mainly handled a lot of major cases. I didn't handle many little small cases. I handled a few, but most of the stuff I did were big cases. And but that required me a lot of times to form alliances with other guys. Like I said, I surrounded myself with the old heads and the other guys that were doing law and that knew what they were doing, and they embraced me and would teach me. And we had that little community, and we talked to each other. We helped each other on each other's cases that we were working on, and we shared that knowledge, shared cases. If we, yeah, you need to check out Apprendi versus New Jersey, or you need to check out Miranda versus Arizona, or something like that, and so it's just, it takes that, alliance and that working together to form and to come to an end and get that final goal of helping people and beating the law at their own game sometimes. Jailhouse lawyers have to be patient. They have to be persistent. They must be willing to work hard and keep trying, even when their efforts seem fruitless. Finally, they must be willing to take responsibility for their actions and learn from their mistakes. You're going to make mistakes, just like anything else, but you really try not to, because you're messing with somebody's life, whether it be your own or somebody else's. No matter what the case, even if it's something as small as a disciplinary report, you're still messing with the part of their life. Patience and persistence, the court, nothing is quick in the courts. It takes years sometimes. 3, 4, 5 years sometimes if you got to go all the way through the Supreme Court. It's not a quick process. And so, it's the pros and cons, though. Pros, first I want to say, careful with your selection. If you have a loved one that's incarcerated or whatever and talking about jailhouse lawyers, make sure they've talked to people in the facility and ask questions about the person they want to do legal work for them. Make sure they're qualified, they know what they're doing. What's their reputation? Because one mistake can mess up your whole life. So make sure somebody knows what they're doing before you allow them to touch your legal stuff. Second of all, I don't care what your case is, you got to make sure they keep their dang mouth shut about some of the evidence and stuff, because some of that stuff can be touchy and you don't want it all out and stuff. But make sure you know the person. But the pros are you're going to get good legal work if you find the right person for a very reduced cost of what you would pay for an attorney. Sometimes next to nothing. I would do motions and stuff sometimes for nothing if somebody didn't have any money. If they were indigent and so couldn't pay me, I don't care. I'm still going to do their legal work. That's because I wanted to help. I did it to help, not to get rich. And although I could have, and there's been cases that I've got $1,500 in prison to do their stuff. Another pro is usually a jailhouse lawyer has a little more fire upon them and wanting to help and get to the truth and help you get free or reduce your sentence or whatever, beat the DR or whatever the case. Especially if they know you, because who's going to fight more for you than a friend or someone that knows you and respects you and thinks a lot of you? I mean, that's and you build those friendships in prison, and you're going to have one of your friends wrong, and it's nice to have that knowledge and be able to help them out. And it's just a hard road. Now the cons, like I said, if you don't get that right person, they don't know what they're doing. They write something up wrong. They file something wrong. They file something too late, too early, whatever, on the wrong format. Sometimes it's simple as that. It could be your font. When you're talking in the criminal courts, there is a wider range of tolerance. When you're any filings, civil court, habeas corpuses go through the civil court. They are very strict. You have so many court rules, and you get into the federal system, it's ridiculous. There's so many court rules on the font, the spacing, the everything has to be exact, or it can be denied, thrown out of court. So if someone don't know the court rules to whatever court they're filing to, that makes a difference. And sometimes in different states, different counties have different rules, so you have to know their court rules. And so you want to make sure that someone's going to do their due diligence to make sure your stuff is right. So the con would be, if they do not do that, you're screwed. If you have a legitimate issue, if it's filed wrong, if it's argued wrong, and you get denied, you can't bring it up again. That issue is now considered what we call moot. It's unfortunate. It happens a lot. People sometimes will file stuff wrong on purpose, maliciously, to try to keep somebody from getting free. Now, I was more on the I just won't do it. I don't want to waste my time on it. I don't want your money. I don't want nothing to do with it. If I don't want nothing to do with it, I don't want nothing to do with it. I'm not going to screw you, but I'm not going to help you. So it's just, I mean, it's a lot of, but it's a lot of work. There's a lot of risk. You're also holding on to people's legal work. So you have their life in your hands, usually in your cell, in your possession. You run risks of stuff getting stolen, stuff getting coffee or something spilled on it, losing stuff, police taking stuff. That happens. Shakedowns and stuff. Legal work disappears a lot of times, especially if it's critical, especially in county jails. Sedgwick County is really bad about it. If you know anybody in Sedgwick County Jail that's facing a case, make sure all their evidence and legal documentation, somebody has copies of it out on the street and stuff, and if it's too sensitive, tell them don't keep it with them in the jail, because Sedgwick County is dirty. They will take it in a shakedown, and if they might even make photos of it or copies and return, oh, we're sorry, this got mixed up in some trash we just happened to see it. Well, that's a lie, because the trash goes straight into the trash barrel. They don't sort it later. But I've seen that happen many times. And then all of a sudden, mysteriously, the prosecution has that evidence that they didn't have prior to that shakedown, and that's hard to prove. Anyway, I hope this video has been informative. I hope it gives you a little bit about Jailhouse Lawyer, tell you a little bit about my background and why I want to start the series on the innocent and incarcerated, and also why I feel starting the Ask the Jailhouse Lawyer series might be beneficial to people. Appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you guys. I love you guys. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. I've been your favorite felon and favorite jailhouse lawyer, the Rev. Dr. Kev.